Hey everyone, I'm Scott Stokely, and this video is going to be all about how to keep the nose flat. In other words, how to keep the nose from tilting down when you push putt. A push putt is a putt where the only hinge that moves on your throwing arm is your shoulder. In other words, when you push putt, the wrist and the elbow are locked in place. This becomes the only hinge you're going to be using. Now, contrary to some popular belief, on a push putt, the arm and wrist are not required to be straight. They're only required to be immobile. In other words, this is a push putt, but this would also be a push putt. As long as these are locked in place and don't move, that is a push putt. Now, with every type of putt, there's pros and cons. The cons of a push putt are, number one, you don't have as much power. You cannot push putt as far as you can with every other putt. And number two, it's harder to get the height right. When you do, for example, a spin putt, your arm is moving across your body like this, which means getting the height is fairly simple. On a push putt, the arm is moving up and down, making height the main variable. However, there's a big advantage to the push putt, and that is because the elbow and wrist are locked in place, you're removing both of these variables from your putt. You don't have to calculate when and at what point of the rotation of the wrist you need to release the disc, nor do you need to do that with the elbow. So there's cons, but there's also some pretty big pros. But the key thing to remember here is that the advantage gained with a push putt is that you don't have the variable of the elbow or the wrist. When a player does a push putt, this right here is not the place where the disc is going to leave their hand. It actually leaves their hand down in here somewhere. So when a player sets the disc flat, they lock these hinges in place. At this point of the throw, when the disc leaves their hand, the disc is parallel to their forearm and now flies nose down. So this is the reason why you see push putters on tour, many of them anyways, line up their push putts and it looks like they're putting the nose up. But when they putt, the disc leaves their hand when it's flat. So the first trick to keeping the nose flat is to actually start it flat at the release point, lock in place here, which now appears to be a nose-up putt. Now, if you do this, there's a chance that when you putt, the disc is going to come out flat and it's going to look like this. For some of you, that's going to solve the problem. But for many of you, it won't. But the good news is I know exactly what's causing it and how to fix it. So if you set the disc flat at the actual release point, move the disc up, which appears to be nose up, and yet the disc still comes out nose down, here is what's happening. Make a video, watch yourself in slow motion. I can almost guarantee you this is what you're doing. The disc is here, it comes back down to here where it's supposed to, and then at this point right here, you do this. The wrist goes yoink, which is the actual sound it makes. It goes yoink, and now the disc comes out nose down. So the second phase of this solve is to be aware that you're doing that and try not to do it. That will work for some of you, but it's not going to work for all of you. So here's the final solution for the rest of you that are still putting nose down at this point. This motion right here is happening involuntarily without you knowing that you're doing it, and it happens so quick, it's not possible for every person to just fix it. So here's the only solution I found, and this is annoying, but it'll work. What you need to do is start off really close to the basket where your arm can move very slowly and you can control whether or not you do the yoink at the bottom of the swing. You're going to set the disc flat here. You're going to move it up to the release point. You're going to lock your wrist in place and you're going to slowly, without yoinking, putt. And it'll work. And then you're going to putt a little farther away and a little farther and a little farther. And every one of you that's having this final problem will get to a point where at this distance, their arm is moving so fast that they're now putting the nose down. Not a problem. You take a couple steps closer back to a distance where you were putting correctly, and then you do a bunch of putts from that distance. Then you move back. If it happens again, you move forward. Do a bunch of putts. Move back. You'll find that eventually you'll solve the problem. Then you move back. No problem. Then you move back a little farther and it happens again. Darn. You move up to where it's not happening. Do a bunch of putts. Move back. If it happens again, darn, you move forward. And you just have to repeat the process. But the whole idea is you do the putt slowly at a distance where you're doing it correctly. Repeat that, build that muscle memory, and then slowly and incrementally move back until eventually you're doing a full power push putt and the nose is flat every time. Thanks.